Hello, everyone, and welcome. I am so happy to have you join me today. We are doing one of my up close and personal segments, and I'm excited to have a special guest with us today. And his name is Evan Kilgore. And I want to thank you, Evan, for taking time out of your schedule to share your personal story, your testimony, your journey. It is very impactful, and I know everybody is going to just see themselves in you once they hear and realize that they're not the only one. So thank you for sharing.
Of course, thank you for having me.
And today it's all about how Evan finally eliminated years of chronic heartburn and the need for a daily nap despite the dependency on Tums nightly, coffee, caffeine pills just to make it through the day. And for many people, this is very common. Heartburn, waking up exhausted, feeling exhausted throughout the day is real. And so I know many of our listeners can relate. And Evan also had reached his highest weight, and which led to his blood pressure beginning to elevate, and clothes were either fitting a little too tight or just simply not fitting at all. And we already know that that is real. Okay, he's definitely not alone in that regard. And I know many more of you are able to relate to that. And so as we are going through our conversation, we please feel free to ask questions, to post comments anytime throughout this talk. And so we will monitor the questions, we will monitor the thread, and we will make sure that your questions get answered. And Evan and I, we started working together in August of 2022, last year, and we are still on this journey together of creating a lifestyle of change together. And at one point in his life, Evan was at a point in his life when we first connected that he was just ready to make a change. He was ready to change some things and really to think about his longevity and his future. And with a history of dieting, maintaining discipline was a challenge without a detailed plan for in front of him to follow. And that's definitely something that many people struggle with is keeping that discipline, keeping that motivation. Sustainable weight loss was in high order to help him with sleep and overall health and just the ability to feel comfortable again in his clothes. And with and then Evan went into our journey together with the purpose of, hey, I just want to lose some weight. I just want to get this weight off. And that's usually how this journey starts. However, throughout the course of our journey, some things kind of changed. His mindset changed and it shifted. And so, on that note, I am going to allow you all to hear from Evan himself, and he can share more details on his journey. And let's begin. If you can share with our viewers what line of work that you do and what you do for a living.
Yes. So I am a software engineer, and I work for one of the largest financial, excuse me, work for one of the largest financial services institutions across the country. So, and I've recently been promoted into management, so I'm in leadership now, and have a uh, roster of engineers all across the country, from as far west as California to even stretching down to Florida. So,
Mhm.
the software that we create and the platforms that we build directly support a multi-billion-dollar industry, or a multi-billion-dollar portfolio, I'll say. So,
Right.
very, very fast paced, very high intensity, and
Yes.
I love it. It's technology. It's always moving. It's always changing, and so we're always trying to keep up and harness the latest and greatest. But that creates a very high intensity, fast paced type of environment.
Right. And you do all this from out of Chicago, right? Out of Chicago?
Chicagoland area, yes,
Yes.
indeed. So I'm in the Metroland area.
All right. All right. And so share with our viewers what were your top health concerns before you started seeking a dietitian? Like what were your top health concerns?
So when we first started, I my biggest concern was really my weight, like you were saying, right? Like I was at the heaviest I had ever been. Um, but additionally, like my blood pressure was really high, and as you were saying, I felt unhealthy. right? Like every night, I'm taking Tums and Prilosec like it's vitamins or something, like it's just it's ridiculous. You go to bed, you lay down, and every 2, 3 hours you're up and you got all that going on in your chest. You can't sleep and up
Mhm.
and down and things like that. So it's just like, okay, at some point you realize, you know, something's got to change, right? There's just a time where something has to change because this isn't sustainable,
Mhm.
and you look at, you have these times of introspection, right? Where you look at your life and you say, man, okay, I've got this great job that I love, nice house and beautiful wife and a kid on the way and everything else, but I don't have my health, you
Mhm.
know. I
Mhm.
don't have my health. I'm not sleeping well. I gotta, you know, down in cups of coffee to get through the day or caffeine pills when I can't get the coffee. Gotta have a moment where it's like, man, okay, this day is just so crazy. Where can I fit in 30 minutes or an hour for a nap? And it's like,
Mhm.
this shouldn't this shouldn't be, you know. And part of why I'm tired is because I'm getting up at 3 a.m. to either reach for the Tums on the side of the bed or, Alka-Seltzer or something else.
Mhm.
So um, you just realize something's got to change. Something just had to change.
Yeah. Now let's talk more about the GERD so what's your history with that? Is this something that you've been battling with your adult life, or what's the onset of that?
It was more recent,
Okay.
actually. So it it was almost like the indication. It was like the warning bell for me. It felt like
Okay.
of how the level of unhealthiness that I was
Okay.
at. Like,
Okay.
okay, when it started, and I would think it probably started like, I think now we're in a place in our society where we're like pre-COVID, post-COVID.
Yes.
So
Gotcha.
I don't think this was so much of a pre-COVID thing, you know.
Okay.
But or maybe around like 2019-ish, right? But
Mhm.
you start to feel um okay, maybe once a week, it's a thing, you know. But then once a week turns into, then you kind of work through it. I'll
Mhm.
sleep through it.
Mhm.
You lay in bed and got the problem and all that. But then it's like, okay, this is happening twice a week. Now it's just happening 3 times a week. Now I got to keep Tums on the nightstand next to the bed because it's happening so frequently. And
Mhm.
I'm tired of getting up out the bed and waking my wife
Get
up, getting up out the bed to go downstairs to get her, you know. So
oh.
it was like progressively getting worse.
Mm.
And my need for coffee was progressively getting worse. My need to take a nap and not be able to get through the day just off of
Mhm.
energy from the food I'm eating was
Uh-huh.
progressively getting worse.
Okay.
To a point where I remember vividly one time I was like, man, I really just need to just take a nap. I had a nice little break in my schedule. And I lay down and for like, oh yeah, I'll just take like 30 minutes. And then I get up and it's like, oh man, that's not enough. And it's like, wow, that's not enough. And then, you start looking and checking your blood pressure and that's getting worse and everything. I'm like, oh, okay, this isn't good.
Mhm. How high was your blood pressure getting at that time? Do you remember?
Oh man. I don't remember exact numbers, but I was definitely
Mhm.
pre-diabetic, diabetic range for sure,
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
for
absolutely.
sure.
And that is interesting that you say, because generally we all have some kind of warning. So you kind of mentioned that it was almost like your body was just kind of that's your body's, I call it survival mechanism. So it's screaming at you, but a lot of times we don't either understand it as a warning,
Yep.
or maybe we just like, okay, let me just push through this. This is, just something that's happening. So
Or
yours
you just call
manifested
it
in,
aging, right? Like, oh,
yeah,
I'm just
yeah, yeah,
getting
I'm getting
older.
older.
I'm just getting older. I'm just not as young as I used to be.
Yeah, that's
You
a
know,
classic one. Getting older, getting
right?
older. And heartburn is not you don't hear that one very often as a warning. So your body was really speaking to you differently. It's blood pressure is pretty common sometimes, and of course sleep and everything that comes with that. So that's good that you acted, sooner than later and realized,
Yes.
you went from okay, the one day, one night, okay, now it's every night. So that your body was that was this way of telling you, all right, Evan, like you said, we need to do something here.
Right, exactly.
So tell a bit more about your weight loss journey and those challenges.
So so going back even several years, because I got married about 7 years ago, and I was really healthy, was really fit, was running every day and lifting weights every day, and everything was all great. But again, right, it just got progressively less and less and less, and I didn't mind my health um, as much as I should have. So again, it's one of those progressive things where
Yeah.
you're like, okay, this shirt doesn't fit, but you're comfortable still with kind of how you look and how you feel, so you just go buy a bigger shirt. You know, and then I had friends that was like, oh man, if you're trying to lose that 10, 15, you know, try this, try this keto, try this method, try that method. And so I would, and with some measure of success. I'm not going to say I wasn't successful, but it wasn't sustained success was the problem. I'd go up and down, up and down, up and down, right? I'd jump on it, I'd lose that 10, 15, and then, holidays come around. Like, oh man, holidays, how I'm going to cut out carbs on the holidays? I got to eat. Yeah.
Exactly.
So and then it's that up and down, up and down. 4th of July, well, man, I got to get on the grill. I got to do this. I got to do that. You always find that excuse, right? To like, it's not sustainable. And
Mm-hmm.
so you look back and you find yourself every time you're restarting worse than where you were before.
Mm.
So you're not even losing the same 10, 15 pounds because you don't put on 20
Yeah.
to lose 15, then you get off of it, you put on 30. And so, you're always adding more. So okay, yeah, you can lose 10 or 15, but what is it if you gain 45 over
Yes.
the course of the time? So that stop and start and stop and start
Yeah.
using all these other methods was just not um, conducive to what I was trying to do.
Right. And I love what you say because a lot of times people will say, "Oh, I did, the keto or this diet or X diet or Y diet, and I was successful." But then, 6 months later, it all came back. And I've
Uh,
heard some say we're friends. And so I love that you say sustainable weight, sustainable
right.
success. So that's really the best way to say it because what's the point in
Hmm.
putting yourself through all that and
Exactly.
you gain it back and then like you say you gain more and then you're starting, you can't even say you're starting over, right? You kind of you got a whole
You got to
new
start.
set point.
You starting worse than where you were before. And then it's the same way. Then okay, cool. Now you get into a point it's like, man, that new shirt I bought don't fit no more either. I gotta go get another shirt. I done bought the same shirt 3 times, 3 different sizes. You know,
Yeah.
so at some point you have to, like I said, have that really hard look at yourself
Hmm.
and say, this isn't good for me. And not only is it not good for me, it's not good for the people that's around me. It's not good for the people that depend on me, that need me and don't just need me present. They need me at my best, you
Yeah.
know. And
Amen.
and and I'm not at my best in this condition.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. And again, anybody has any questions, comments, feedback, ahas. If you can't say amen, say ouch, anything. 'Cause it's all it's all relatable. Now let's talk about coffee. This is something that's
Ooh.
definitely across the board with majority people. So talk about that journey with the and how that started as far as the coffee becoming a dependency for you and caffeine pills. I don't hear that one very often. So let's kind of give us more insight on that.
So the caffeine pills was a college thing that just kind of carried over,
Ah,
right? So way, way back in my college days, when we
okay.
used to have to be in the lab every night to do your work. You didn't have, all of this stuff that, they have now, so you can do everything remotely and in your dorm. You had the 2, 3 a.m.
Oh
be in
yeah,
the computer
I
lab,
remember them days.
doing your code and doing all of that,
Try to finish it, try to get it to
you got
run
to get,
without error.
that's it. So missing that little semicolon of whatever it is.
Right.
So you know, um, caffeine pills
Oh,
was just a thing. It was able just to kind of keep you up and keep you going, and it was relatively sustainable. This is pre 5 hour energy drink and monster drinks and all of that stuff. Um, but I had always found that caffeine pills gave me a sustainable kind of steady feed of
mhm.
alertness and energy.
Gotcha.
So it was something that I just kind of carried over,
Hmm.
when I couldn't get to a cup of coffee real quick, yeah, pop a couple caffeine pills and I'm good. Because I never really was a coffee drinker until I discovered French vanilla creamer and all that other stuff. So then
Yeah, yeah.
it made it taste good, and getting a little extra kick. All right, okay,
Right.
cool, I'll take it. So, but as I started working from home and doing more things from home, um, coffee became more and more consistent
Hmm.
and more present. The caffeine pills when I was out and on the go and
Hmm.
take take two, little sip of water and I'm good. But as I'm home more, yeah, okay, I can have cup after cup after cup, and you know, we say cup, but these mugs are not 8 ounces.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
so when
24
we
ounces.
exactly, so when we say a cup of coffee, that is not 8 ounces. Okay, so the one mug might be 2, 3 cups of coffee. So
Hmm.
um, so that became more frequent, much more frequent. 2, 3, 4 a day,
Mm.
um,
Okay.
just to try and sustain. Because, like I said,
Yeah.
my days are high pace, fast pace, high intensity, things like that. So there's really not a lot of time for slowdown.
Hmm.
So so it's you're
You're
down
trying
in
to get
them
it
days.
in. Yeah.
You're
Okay.
trying to get it in.
Yeah. Okay. And where are you now with that? How much coffee we having now? Just to kind of awesome.
I
Awesome.
have
Awesome.
not
Awesome.
had, and that is one of the things. One of the You always feel something when you're in it, but it's always great when somebody else can validate what you're seeing.
Hmm.
And so I had recognized that I wasn't needing the coffee.
Hmm.
You know, Even if I had some, it was like, wait, I don't need this. I don't feel the same way. I don't need to drink
Yeah.
this. And
Yeah.
so started to kind of wean that down. And then it wasn't until my wife came in one time and I had a little break in my schedule. She came in and she said, hey, you haven't drunk any of the coffee that's in the house. And I was like, you're right.
Yeah. You noticed.
You're right. You noticed. Okay.
And
You
plug it.
noticed
I
what
did
I
not tell him to
noticed.
stop drinking coffee. So I'm gonna put that little disclaimer. I did not tell
Mhm.
him to stop drinking
You
coffee.
did. You did not. That is true. You did not. But it was like, okay, you kind of feel validated in that, okay,
Hmm.
what we're doing and what we set out, you know, and the plan, the prescribed plan to follow is working, you know. And then ultimately you start to see, okay, you're right. I don't need coffee.
Hmm.
But then you start to look at your day and you're like, I haven't had to take a nap either, you know.
All right
So
now.
you're like, okay, we on to something, you know.
That's good. That's good. That's what we want to hear. Those are the victories I love to hear because
Mm-hmm.
that helps feed your food choices. And so a lot of
Right,
times people don't make that connection. And
right.
you mentioned trying keto. Were there any other diets or any kind of other approaches that you tried to get the weight off?
I tried keto and then I did intermittent fasting with keto.
Okay.
Um, and that was more of because my mornings can be so busy,
Hmm.
I just wake up and then just don't eat.
Hmm.
So, it's like, okay, cool. I guess if I look at intermittent fasting and then I looked at keto and I was like, well, if intermittent fasting is just going, you know, 16 off, 8 on, something like that, I was like, well, I'm
I'm
not
doing
eating.
that, right?
I'm doing it anyway. So I guess we in this, right? So it was just kind of one of those things where
Okay.
it folded in
Yeah,
nicely.
about to
So it's
say, just
like,
kind of led in there. Gotcha.
but it wasn't the best approach. Now I know that now,
Hmm.
right? Having the education um, about food, which is the biggest thing that this has taught me. You know, is that I thought I needed weight loss, but I needed the education, and those decisions I were making were not wise decisions.
Hmm. Yeah, and the thing is, I always share you don't know what you don't know, and there's so
Right?
much nutrition information out there, and they got great marketing around these diets, so I get it, I
Yeah.
get it. They're very
Yeah.
alluring, and but you don't know what you don't know, and I actually feel it's kind of good for people to go through that experience because then they can see and they can testimony for themselves. Okay,
Hmm.
wow, it really don't take all that, I can say it all
It does.
day, but it's hard for me to sell it, you know,
It,
competing with how keto presents itself and intermittent fasting presents itself, and so it's very difficult. So it's almost like you would like it's time for a change. This isn't working. I'm tired of. I'm not even hitting the reset button. I'm starting off worse than what I was before. So it's almost like you
mhm.
have to kind of have that build up to finally feel like, well, I'm at a brick wall.
Yeah. And the willingness to unlearn what you thought you knew,
Yeah.
right? You have to be willing to say, okay, I tried it, it didn't work. Clearly, there's something off,
Yeah.
but you can't come into this with the mindset that, well, I know this and I know that, you know, that's not it, right? I had to unlearn a lot. And, because you
That's
think,
good.
man, I'm going to go on and I'm going to just watch this YouTube video and I'm going to
Yep.
figure out what they doing and I'm going to do what they doing
Right.
and it's all good. You know, it doesn't really work
Right,
that
right.
way.
Now, if
Right.
you wanted to sustain, if you wanted
Not
to
if you
last,
want to sustain. If you're
yeah,
trying to look good for just that one event in 3 months, all right, cool.
yep, you got
But
it.
if
Yeah,
you're talking about sustained health, right? You're not going to sustain yourself and your health in a truly healthy fashion watching somebody else's YouTube videos for what they eat for their body. You
yeah.
know,
No,
um, you have to have some because there's for me, there were just way too many life events. I came into this thinking, hey, I'm cool. I'm just gonna sit back. I work from home every day.
mm-hmm,
This is gonna be easy. And then life event, life event, life
mm-hmm,
event, life event.
mm-hmm.
And
Yep,
you need somebody to help walk you through this and say, okay, this is how we remain healthy through these life events. This is how we make
right.
healthy choices through all the craziness that's going around. How do we still maintain a baseline of health?
Yep, and that is the ultimate goal. It's weight loss. I always say is going to happen, but you have to have that discipline that
Yes.
to push through and not just throw away self-care because
Right.
I'm self-care is so important. That's so easy to throw out the window when stuff happens. And when we talk about life events, it's the one good thing about this is it's also almost like on the go kind of learning because I don't know what's going to pop up. You don't know what's going to
Right.
pop up, but then we work through
Right.
it together. And Evan is a dad to be. So I
Yes,
think that
indeed.
was the first unexpected pop up. His wife
Yes,
became
indeed.
pregnant. Blessings. He got blessings, 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 because they have been trying for years, and we're gonna attribute that to his changing in his eating habits. He changed his eating habits, and it spilled over to her. She did some of it, and next thing I know, I think we're what month two in, wife's pregnant. I mean, it was, and I mean, just that little, and she's getting the information through him, so
Hmm.
just at the power of food. Second one, went to management, started traveling,
Yeah.
meetings with food everywhere. Like he's big
All over
time
the
now. So
place. All over the place. Every meeting.
I
Every
mean,
meeting.
yes.
Then we had the whole oral surgery. I had surgery on my mouth and then
Yeah,
couldn't eat solid food,
maybe
right? So
for almost a month.
almost a month on the Zoom calls, had the big chipmunk cheeks, the face all swole up and everything
Yep.
else.
So
But
he's surviving
so
on
what
smoothies and okay, I need
smoothies
some
and
smoothie
soft foods,
recipes. But you know what?
But
We got him through. We adjusted,
and that's
got him
and
through.
that's the thing. You need somebody with the knowledge to arm you with knowledge and then to be able to walk you through that.
Yeah.
Because through each one of those steps, you're like, okay, this is how we're gonna adjust. This is how you still gonna get all your nutrients,
Yep.
your calories, and
Hmm.
all of this stuff go in,
Hmm.
regardless of where you are and of, whether it be a physical location or, mouth surgery or
Yeah.
whatever the case may be.
Yeah. Yeah. There's still a way
You
to make it happen. And
It's
he
still the
was
way to make it happen.
open and he was willing. He was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, let's do that. Let's try that." And it wasn't about and during the oral surgery piece, he was not able to exercise. So it's like, no, we
No,
we still are able to do what we need to do to make you feel better and keep you healthy, keep
mhm,
your blood pressure in check, and still lose weight. Even though we
mhm.
have to kind of lay low with exercise because the eating is the de facto. So it was all about
Right,
healing his mouth at this point, and still keeping the goals in mind at the same time. So it was, and that actually helps you to learn how to maintain this stuff because those
yeah,
different trials applies to what's going to come in the future because something's going to happen. You know,
right.
we preparing for this little baby that's about to change his world.
For real. You know, there are very few situations are ideal. You know, and this is another thing, and actually focusing and putting attention on what I eat and what I put in my body and everything else. You realize there's very few ideal situations, or
Hmm.
very few times when it's like, okay, I'm going to be in a perfect spot to eat the perfect meal all the
Exactly.
time, you know.
Exactly.
But if you don't have the education to be able to say, how do I adjust? Or if you
Hmm.
don't know how to adjust when situations are not ideal, you're setting yourself back, you know.
Hmm.
And that's what I appreciated the most was the education. I know now so much more than what I did coming in without having to give up certain foods or food groups, right?
Yep.
Those
Yep.
things I was trying to give up prescribing to other methodologies is actually what's fueling me, what's giving me the energy to get rid of the coffee and to get rid of all of
Yeah.
that stuff. So
Yeah. The heartburn,
it
all that. Yeah.
heartburn and all of that. So
Yeah. How's your sleeping? Is that
oh man,
better?
sleeping is night and day.
Hmm.
It's night and day. I get a solid 7 hours, 8 hours without waking up.
Good.
You
And that's
my sleep.
important. Yeah, and people don't realize that feeds into food choices and weight loss and health in general, blood pressure. I
Mhm.
mean, sleep deprivation, it manifests itself in a lot of different ways with people. So that is one of the cornerstones. I always tell him, hey, if all else fails, you got to make some choices between exercise and sleep, for example, get the sleep because that's going to
Sleep.
impact you to even want to exercise. Yeah.
And even in your career, the
Yeah.
decisions you make,
Yeah.
you don't want to be making decisions sleep deprived.
Right.
It's not good, you
Especially in
know.
a production outage situation.
Precisely, right? You want to be sound of mind and sound in body when
Mm-hmm.
you're making these decisions, and even whether it's decisions with your career, on your job, day to day, with your family, whatever decisions you have to make as an adult, you want your mind and body to be in its optimal place.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to be like, man, you know what? I was on a sugar high when I made that decision. That probably wasn't the best decision in the world to make. I had 10 cups of coffee, my caffeine, all that was through the roof. I was a little wired. I
Mm-hmm.
probably shouldn't have said what I said and did what I did. You always want to be at that optimal place
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
to to make the decisions that adults have to make every day.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
starting with getting some sleep.
Yeah. And let's talk about exercise. What was your opinion on exercise before we met, and how did that change?
Oh man, I just wanted to go and lift some weights, get my muscle right and get toned up, figuring out like, okay, if I just go ahead and hit all these weights, I'm
Yeah.
good. But again, had to unlearn. There's a balance here when we're talking about weight loss and fat loss and things like that. So, you had to educate me
Mhm.
on that. Cardio has its place.
Yeah. Yeah, but what about your motivation? Because I think I remember you just didn't
Oh,
have the desire.
no, no, there was no motivation. There was none. In my mind, I kept saying, yeah, okay, I'm gonna get down there on Monday. Yeah. To the point of I I said I was gonna get this gym membership, right? And I was gonna get the gym membership and go. Got that gym membership. Then people took more. I gave them more money than the law should allow. I had never walked through those doors. And then I was like, okay, you know what? It's because I'm out here, Chicagoland area, wintertime, the weather, we only got 2 seasons. We got summer and winter. That's it. Yeah. So I was like, I know what I'll do. I'll buy some weights and get the whole set. I'll put it in my basement. I didn't go downstairs.
Yeah.
At that point, I said, okay, this is me. I'm the problem. If I can't go downstairs, it's in my house. I ain't gotta leave. I ain't gotta go nowhere. I just gotta get out the bed and go downstairs.
Hmm.
And I don't even have the motivation to do that.
Hmm. Hmm.
Something gotta change here. So, and it was always that I'll start on Monday kind of thing. But, you know,
You're not alone there. Always Monday or the beginning of the month.
right, I'm
Yeah.
gonna just get past this. I'm gonna eat real good this week, and then but Monday, I'm gonna
Hmm.
start on Monday. And Mondays, more Mondays are come and gone,
Yeah.
and
But another
go.
great testimony you gave me was when you was motivated to get on the treadmill and you
To
motivated to,
get up and do it, get
and
up and do it.
that is stuff I like to hear because that is again, it helps you with motivation to keep going, to want to do things. And what do you think kind of sparked that motivation to kind of, I want to do this now?
Sleep. The
Awesome.
sleep was so good. I woke up before my alarm, and
Yeah.
it was like 5:30, 6 o'clock, and it was just before the alarm went off. And I knew that my first meeting wasn't until like 8 or 9 a.m. And I was like, I'm up. I'm I'm up. I'm good. Like I feel energized.
Mhm.
I was like, I got a couple hours before my first meeting. Let me go downstairs. You know? So put on little workout clothes and went downstairs and got on the treadmill. I was like, okay,
Mhm.
this is good. I
Mhm.
could do this. Just got 30 minutes in. I was like,
Yes.
it's 30 minutes.
Yes.
And I finished the 30 minutes and I'm like, yeah, okay, that was tough. Right? Because I ain't been on there in a while. So I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, I got done. It's like, oh yeah, this is good. No, I was huffing and puffing and I was
All
sweating. I
right.
sweat through that shirt and it was hard. Okay. It was
Uh,
hard. That first one back is hard.
mhm.
And I was like, dang, I gotta do this again. But it was the realization that I had gotten enough sleep and I was energized and I was like, I can do this. And that's really what it was. It was I can do this. You know,
Absolutely.
this
Absolutely.
isn't this isn't unattainable. I
Hmm.
can give 30 minutes. I give 30 minutes flipping through whatever on my phone
Yes.
and just reading emails and playing little games on my phone and all of that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I got 30 minutes in the
Yes.
morning.
For your temple. Absolutely.
So
That's
that's
that.
what that's
I
what
remember
that's
when you
what
text
started it.
me. I was like, yes,
That's
that's
what started
great.
it.
And so you went through this same journey that most people do. I encourage people to do their due diligence. Give it a try. Try to figure it out. Try to find out what works for you. What do you wish you would have gotten help sooner? And what advice would you give to others who may be trying to figure this thing out on their own and go at it by themselves?
I do wish I would have gotten help sooner because um, I didn't know enough about food and the impact of food and making healthy life choices. And, you know, I needed the education. I came into this thinking, I just need to lose weight and get back to where I was the day that I got, how I looked when I got married and all of that. And
Hmm.
really what I needed was the education. I
Hmm.
needed the education to make healthy decisions in every area of my life, no matter what's going on in my life. Right.
Hmm.
And
Absolutely.
so I do wish that I would have started sooner. Additionally, it's the understanding that um, there's no better person to invest in than yourself.
Absolutely.
Right.
Amen. Hmm.
So, if I can invest and put money here and there and this places and that places and do all these other things to try and set stuff up and to do this right and all of that, investing in myself at some it was is the most important thing for me,
Hmm.
to be able to say, okay, what good is all this and all these moves I'm making and trying to do and all of that, and I'm not investing anything in me to be healthy to keep these things alive,
Oh, and
you
yeah,
know.
absolutely. Self-care,
So
creating a life of self-care is so key so that you're all of that on your job. You're all of that as
yeah,
a husband. You all of that as a father. You're all of that. And not sick, and not
yeah,
burnt out and unmotivated. So
right,
that's what it's all about. That is what
right.
it's all about. And all of that will feed into your food choices.
I
So
want to
a lot
have
of
energy
non-food,
to
a lot
get
of
through the
non-food things, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, but you want to have energy to get through your work day and to be there for the people that need you on your job. You want to have energy for your wife and your family and and all of that. You want to have energy to go and take my kid to the park and run around with my kid at the park and play catch and do all of that and whatever the case may be.
Hmm.
So all of those things are healthy lifestyle and it all comes to understanding food and what the choices that you make.
Hmm.
So invest in yourself. That's the best thing. Take the time
To invest,
and
yeah,
invest in yourself
and know that it's not just for you. It's going to spill over into your family. Especially
completely.
your family's going to benefit, your kids going to benefit, the people around you are going to benefit, and it stays with you. This is not nothing that expires.
Yeah,
This will stay with you, and you use it as well. You use as much
yeah,
of it or as little
yeah,
of it. But
yeah,
you learn how to do that to adapt
yeah.
in your situation. And so, would you say the top three things that we did together that you found most helpful? Top
Top
three.
three things.
Hmm.
Um, the readings and the quizzes,
Ah,
right?
you're the first person
That
to say
was
that. The quizzes.
well, and here's the thing, because it helps it stick. It
Yeah.
helps the information stick. And as you make these changes, you, whether you know it or not, give others around you um, a motivation to make changes too. But when they start to say, "Well, what are you doing?" You can speak to it with a level of education
Yeah,
as to what you're doing, why you're doing it, things like that. So even
absolutely.
though you're looking at the readings and the quizzes, and you're like, "Oh man, okay, you got to do all that," it helps it lock it in,
Right.
and you're not just doing something. You understand why you're doing what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I would say that. I would say the prescribed plans for all the different life events.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah, yeah.
learning how to make the healthy choices
Mhm.
no matter what's going on. Right. So now that I'm armed with the knowledge, okay, cool. Whatever happens, I know I can make a right and healthy choice.
Mhm.
And then the working out too, right? Like the motivation to say, okay, hey, you don't have to go down there and lift the world, you know.
Right.
Just go get just go get 30 minutes. Just
Right.
start. Start. This is gonna be your goal, but just start, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Mm-hmm.
Go get 30 minutes. And the more that you do it, you know, the more consistent you are with it,
Right.
you're gonna hit that goal. You're gonna hit that target. So
Exactly.
um and that consistency, you know, checking in and you have this great mix between accountability and grace, you know. You give grace for the mistakes, but you hold people accountable,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Absolutely.
Um and so that's great. And I'll also mention this honorable mention, the tracking. the scanning and tracking, even though I'm terrible at it. Okay.
No, you're not. You're absolutely
I
not.
get
He even sent
I
me
understand.
pictures with his tracking. Like he took it a step further.
Yeah, I said I took take pictures of all
Uh-huh.
of it. But the tracking really helps
Yeah,
because the
it is.
tracking lets you know exactly what you're putting in and
Hmm.
exactly what you're doing.
Hmm.
And so you can make the little tweaks and changes and things like that when you're like, okay, we're a little heavy on this. You know,
Hmm.
we're not getting enough of this category in. We need to adjust here
Hmm.
or, make some substitutions, things like that. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's really good.
Just to touch on some of the things that he mentioned. So I am big on education. Like I'm just not going to give you this, oh, eat this, don't eat that, or I want you to understand the five food groups. I want you to understand carbs and macros and the art of tracking and what the apps don't give you, the intelligence that you need to provide the app so that it works for you. So I want you to be empowered by the time this is all said and done. So because we all lapse, I lapse, we have our moments and know how to get back on the bandwagon and you have that control.
Mm-hmm.
And the reading that he's talking about, it was more like the information that's there that we use throughout. And as you in the beginning, it's like, oh boy, what's all this? But as you learn it and we refer back to it, the dots begin to connect. You begin to know how to build your plate where you have all the players on there so that you're getting what you need. And that's what he is referring to. And just the plan is flexible. We start off, okay, this I just want you to follow it because I want you to get used to eating because most people are not used to eating as much. And
Yeah.
they're like, I gotta eat all this to lose weight. And I'm like, yeah, you gotta eat all this. And so that's kind of how we start, familiar foods. I don't want to throw a bunch of foreign stuff at you, but then you learn how it's flexible and you change it and you adapt and it becomes life, like a routine basically. And working out, it's what you enjoy. What we were trying to get Evan to a point where he just enjoyed working out, whether it's 10-minute bouts, whether it's 30 minutes. You don't have to spend 2 hours to feel like you're doing something. Is probably
Right.
the big thing because most people think the more you work out, the faster you'll lose weight. But mm-mm. That is
Mm-mm.
not how it works.
Nope.
It's just about being consistent and being consistent so you can get that health benefit from the exercise, that cardio health benefit, the immune system health benefit, the muscle benefits. You want to be able to cross all gamuts with that. And the accountability and consistency is not an all or nothing. Usually, especially if you have a personal trainer, is probably a good example. You didn't lose whatever, so it's like
Mm-hmm.
they're ready to slap your hand and have you do I don't know what 100 push-ups or something to
Right.
punish you. But that's life. And with this process, and I know you probably learned this, Evan, is that those mistakes or what's perceived as a mistake or those kind of oops moments or that's what helps you learn. That's what helps you grow. You have to go through that, see how your body feels, see how it reacts. Okay, then what do we do differently next time? That's all it's like. We talk about that because it's going to happen again. you know,
Mm-hmm.
they had a lapse. Sometimes people have a lapse. They just ate and couldn't stop eating. Okay, what triggered it? Because it's going to happen again. Did we miss snacks? Did we not get good sleep? What happened? Was there some stress that came out of the blue? So that's where that life comes in. So that's why it's not a cookie cutter because it's so different for everybody. And tracking is like a love-hate relationship with people. It's like they either love it or they hate it, but it's an
Mm-hmm.
eye opener, isn't it?
It is. It really, really is. It really, really is because you get to see, particularly when you're just eating normal, how you were eating
Hmm.
and tracking, and you're like, wow, I am really overeating. And
Hmm.
you look at certain portions and you're like, this all I get? I didn't, I used to double back. I only get a third. What you mean a third? Like, oh, this is how much I'm supposed to have. And you,
Hmm.
like the first time you really measure out 8 ounces or something, you're like, ooh, I've
Yeah.
been having way too much. you know?
Yeah.
Uh yeah. So I mean all of that
It's
is
an eye opener.
go
It's
ahead.
an eye opener.
It's an eye opener. And I
Hmm.
think one of the biggest ones too, and I know we're about that time, but one of the biggest things you told me that was just so funny to me, but it was so real. He was like, hey, Thanksgiving is just one meal. I was like, no, it ain't. Thanksgiving is like 5 to 7 meals, depending on, your tolerance for leftovers and, all of that. You're like, no, 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 no. You overate for like a whole week, and you called it Thanksgiving, which is just one meal.
Yeah.
Like
One
you
day.
had your one,
Yeah.
it's just you had your one meal at Thanksgiving, and the next day get back to eating like you're supposed to.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Portion
and he
out
said,
the
and I,
leftovers. You got a portion of leftovers. You don't eat the
yeah,
leftovers a magnitude as you did on the day of.
exactly. So that I took that, but then come Christmas when we do the same thing, I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna make us much. I'm not gonna have that. I'm not
Yes.
gonna, you cut everything in half. Whatever anybody was gonna cook, cut in half. You
Hmm.
know, because it was just one meal. And
Yeah.
then the next day, it's like, okay, cool. I'm back to what I'm doing. This was just a one day thing.
Hmm.
Now I'm back. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and making those changes mentally
It's huge.
um,
Yeah.
is massive,
Yeah.
massive. Because
Yeah.
people end up going, you eating off for Thanksgiving. You're like, you know what? Christmas is 4 weeks away. I might as well just go ahead
Keep
and
on going.
keep on going. And now you done ate terrible for, you know,
2 months.
four
Yeah.
or 5 weeks for 2 months, and it's just one
Mhm.
meal.
Yep. Share some of your the improvements. Share some of the improvements you've noticed in your health and even some of your vitals, like blood pressure and things, such the things that were most concerning for you. Because you had mentioned the blood pressure, the feeling unhealthy, and things like that.
Blood pressure, blood pressure lower, not having heartburn at night, being able to sleep through the night.
Good.
The motivation to get up and work out, clothes fitting, like I can go back and wear some of the clothes. I don't have to keep buying the
Yeah.
same thing again in different
Good.
sizes. You know, wow. Eating healthier foods, making better food choices as far as like actually cooking, and you giving out recipes and things like that, and you start to get a taste for the healthier stuff.
Hmm.
The more that you have it,
Palate
the
changes, doesn't
your
it? Yeah.
palate changes. Once you start getting into that, and then you eat something that's really processed, you're like,
Right. Right.
this ain't it. That's
Yeah.
mm-mm. Swelling went down. I used to have swelling in my ankles and things like
Good.
that.
Good.
Don't have the swelling in my ankles and in my
Ah,
legs anymore.
I didn't know that
It's,
one. That's
you
good. That's the stuff I like
know,
to hear that's
so
real.
all yeah, that's real stuff. Not needing a nap, not caffeine, the pills, and all of that. There's so much that I just have a general feeling. I generally feel better.
Good.
There was times when I would just be like, I just don't feel good. And you can't put your thumb on it. I just don't feel good. I don't feel like me, you know,
Hmm.
and I feel like myself again, you know.
That's
So it's
amen.
it's 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 been very, very good, very, very good for me.
Awesome. So, any words of wisdom that you have for our listeners who are in a very similar situation, stuck, frustrated? Okay, how do I get out of this? Something's got to change. Not understanding why they can't get this weight off. What words of wisdom would you share?
Stop thinking about it and do it. Stop thinking about it and do it. Reach out, jump in the comments, send an email. I knew that I needed a change. I knew that I wanted somebody that looked like me to help me guide me through this change, because Black men's health can be very particular, and we have our own unique set of challenges. So even for me in the Chicagoland area, I sought you out being in Florida,
Florida. Hmm.
so um, do it. Reach out and get started now. Don't wait. Don't
Hmm.
wait. The longer you wait, you know, the worse your health is getting. You feel it.
Hmm.
So if you already know that I need to make a change, I feel stuck, I don't feel like myself, just start.
Yeah.
Just start.
Thank you
You
for
know,
that. Yeah.
reach out and just start.
Yeah. And we take it one step at a time. So
That's
yeah,
it.
absolutely.
That's it.
I
That's
thank
it.
you so much. Thank you so much for sharing your journey.
Of
I
course.
know that this is impactful and is relatable to many, many people. You're changing lives. You don't even realize it. You're putting people's minds at ease, knowing that they're not the only one, especially my Black men, because it is. it's a lot of them, we don't want to talk about it. We don't want to reach
Hmm.
out. We all have our different levels of pride, and you're showing that it is okay. It is okay. We all need help. That's what we're here for. You don't have to struggle alone.
Yeah,
And you want to, especially if you have you want to be there for your family, you want to be there for your friends, and just to take care of our temple. We only got one shot at this thing, so we want to make sure that we're taking care of our temple. So thank you for sharing.
particularly to those black men. I will say this
Yes,
particularly
go ahead.
to black men. It's not enough just to get your guys and just go work out, right? A lot of times when we want to get healthy, we're like, hey man, I need somebody to go with me to the gym. That's great. You need to understand what health really means. And you can't do that on your own. Get somebody, reach out to Sandra, got the credentials, knows this, does this, studies this, is well educated in this. Educate yourself. Educate yourself. There's too much going on around you. People need you and
Yeah.
need you at your best. And you can't do that alone. You don't have to do that alone. Um, get started, but get started in the right way.
Amen. Amen. And on that note, we are going to close because he said it perfect. He said it perfect. So thank you all for tuning in. Definitely post your comments, your questions, anything relatable, testimonies. So I want to thank you all for tuning in. I'm Sandra with It's All About Choices. And I thank my guest, Evan, for being so candid and so honest. And remember that a positive mindset and speaking only positive self-talk goes a long way in cultivating and maintaining a healthy lifestyle and self-care that lasts for life. And that's what it's all about. So stay tuned next week, same time and same handle. Bye for now and have a great rest of your day, and blessings to everybody.